Welcome to Slow and Steady, the podcast where you get to follow along as we build products in public. Each week, we'll give you an honest peek into our lives as we share our struggles, our wins, and everything in between. I am Benedicte, and I am feeling confident today.
And I'm Benedikt. Today is August 31st. This is episode number 106, and I'm feeling unfocused.
And so was our podcasting system.
Yeah. This is Slow and Steady.
And so,
take two.
And also, Brian's Wi-Fi is feeling a little unfocused today, so he could not join.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I'm wondering, the last time we recorded with the three of us was probably 6 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, something like that. It's been a while.
Did we manage to get one in right before your vacation? Did we? I can't remember anymore.
I think it was just the two of
Anywho.
us. I think Brian was in New York at that time. So it's...
That's true. That's true. He's been living it up.
Yeah.
And you've been living it up. You have been on vacation.
Yeah, I have. And it was nice. This time, nothing unusual is broke. There wasn't any emergencies. There was no disaster. Customer support was okay-ish. I didn't have to check my email 20 times a day. It was okay to just check it once. So that was nice. I actually got a little bit of distance from work. But now that I'm back, like the problem is getting back into work. And that's why I'm a little bit unfocused today, because I feel like not quite sure where to start and what to do first. And yeah, so the usual stuff, I guess.
Yeah, that kind of comes with vacation. Like vacations are great, but I also feel, often that it's a little bit harder to start up, or it's that unfocusedness. And it usually takes me about 3 days, I think, before I can get back into it.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I enjoy these workations we talked about before, because you get that vacation feeling, but you still have a little bit of that work going on. But not all vacations can be workations.
Yeah.
I'm totally for taking true vacations like you have done. So what was the highlight of your vacation? Just to like focus on some
the highlight of my
stuff.
vacation, that's a tough one. I don't know. Like the second week we spent in Austria and did some hiking. And the weather forecast was miserable. Like it was supposed to rain all day for a week, but luckily it was wrong, and we had sunshine. But there was a little bit of rain, but it wasn't too bad. So we've been there for like 6 days or so, and we were actually hiking for a couple hours on 4 of them. So it was nice. Like like after day 2, my legs were sore, and I thought I wasn't able to move anymore. But we just kept going, did another tour the next 2 days. And by the end of it, it was like, yeah, okay, I can keep going. It's fine.
Slow and steady. That's the trick to those kind of long walks in nature as well.
Yeah, exactly. And it was really nice. I really enjoyed it. And before we left, or actually before those 2 weeks vacation, I was very strict about, like, I removed everything work related from my phone. Email was still on there, but I limited to 1 minute per day. So the only thing I could do was basically in the mornings, I'd open up my email and just check that there's nothing important in there or nothing that needs my attention. And then I try to archive as much as possible, but 1 minute isn't that much. So at some point it just shut off. And if there was something in there, I'd open up the computer sometime in the day and just answer a support request or something like that. But luckily there wasn't that much, and I actually got to not think about work for longer stretches of time, which was really nice.
How lovely. And also enjoying nature. I don't know, in Norway at least, there's like more and more newspaper articles coming out about the power of spending time in nature and how it's like more healing and more beneficial than anyone has ever thought. But we've all known this, but now there's research backing it up, and modern person needs research to understand that it's beneficial to spend time in nature, or research that it's good for kids to play. But but I see that there's been a lot of focus, at least in our kind of media, about spending time in nature and how that's like a really good antidote to kind of the modern always on type life. So you did it.
I can get behind that even without doing any research.
So your vacation is approved by all the authorities.
Nice. I'm glad about that.
So what has happened with Userlist while you've been away?
There's actually been some progress on Userlist. While I was away, Jane relaunched our website with a little bit of a style update. We got rid of the purple that was on our website in our branding. So now it's black and white with a little bit of color sprinkled here and there. And the cool thing about this is she did basically all of that herself, editing config files in Git and stuff like that. I wasn't really involved in that. And during my vacation, she just clicked 2 buttons and merged pull requests and deployed the website and our new UI, and everything just worked without me doing anything, which was nice to see.
Well, this is a good sign for the future for you, not having to kind of be on call. I can see more longer vacations in your future.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, if it was that easy, it would be nice. But overall, pretty happy with it. We also launched a new.
But what?
Yeah, go ahead.
What was kind of the goal of doing these changes, or is there a goal of doing the changes? Do you have any hypothesis, or?
Well, the color.
Did you just need a change?
The color changes were probably just we need a change. It's not like it. I don't think it would affect anything. I feel like Jane has gotten a little bit tired of our previous color scheme, so it was just like, let's do an update. And it's not like it changed. It's not like we changed a lot. It's basically just the color scheme is a little bit different. We cleaned up a few things here and there, or she cleaned up a few things here and there. But overall, it's the same website and the same content, and UI didn't really change other than the colors. So
didn't you kind of change the length of the page, or did I read her tweet wrong?
Yes, that's the other thing.
Did you make
the other thing we did? The homepage itself is now super focused. It basically is a headline, sub-headline with a value proposition, then a sign-up form to get in a pre-recorded video demo. But we ask for your email address for that. And then as a screenshot, and then I think we have like 4 or 5 logos of customers, and that's it. And it's super, super minimal and focused. And it was one of the experiments we wanted to try. For no good reason, to be honest, other than giving it a try, because we had the previous design with a somewhat, it wasn't necessarily a long form landing page, but we had like the classic homepage of like screenshot, list of features, testimonials, all of that stuff. And we figured, let's just get rid of all of that for once and then see how it performs. Interestingly enough, it's been up for a couple of days now, and the metrics didn't really change. Like it's not like there's a significant increase in signups for the mailing list / the video demo. But what we did see is that the other pages on the website suddenly get more traffic. So we have like a very minimal navigation at the bottom of the page where you can get to the docs and the features page and stuff like that. Basically the old website, and now people are much more likely to click on those pages. I'm not entirely sure what to think about that yet. Like on one hand, it's nice that those pages get more exposure, but on the other hand, it's probably because the homepage itself doesn't really tell you anything anymore. So people have to click elsewhere.
No, but in one way, it will actually give you some insight into what people then is interested in. Like what if one page, like if everybody checks the features page or everybody checks the price page, I guess that could tell you something about what to put back on the front end or on the home page if you want to, without having to do one of those kind of analytics tools where you can kind of see where people are hovering their mouse. I don't know if you've done any of those, like the Hotjar or and they don't give you exact either, I would say, because people might just be scrolling and just stop because they're doing something else. Well, so I guess you get some kind of data points around that, and also you get a homepage that is much easier to maintain, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's too early to draw any conclusions.
Yeah.
We keep it like this.
Yeah. It looks really good, though.
Yeah, I like it as well. Like it's very on point and focused. But I guess we have to see after a couple of days or maybe even a month or so, and then reevaluate if we want to keep it like this or if we want to change it up again. Like so far we only got one person who didn't like it and thought it was too growth hacky, which I can kind of understand. But yeah, I mean,
but if nobody complained, you've done something wrong.
Probably, yeah. I mean,
if everybody's like, "Meh," then it wouldn't have been a change, right?
True. I think, for the most part, it's an experiment, and we'll see what the future brings.
Looking forward to updates on that, because we all make home pages or sales pages or marketing pages or what we want to call them.
In the end, I feel like there's no blueprint that you can use, because I feel like so much depends on the product and the audience and all of that. So yeah, if this works out for us, it doesn't have to work out for you or the other way around. So
yeah, definitely. I feel like you have a very utilitarian kind of a product where I think people know what they want. Like they want to send emails, so you don't have to sell them on the concept of sending emails, right? It's kind of like you've already decided you want to message people in some way, and you're looking to see probably like what kind of features you have. Does it look like it's simple? Does it look like it will cover my needs? Those kinds of things. And I don't know how you usually get customers though, but
we don't either.
I started using Userless because I met you in a community.
Like it's so far. I wish we had like a very repeatable and obvious marketing channel or user acquisition channel, but right now we don't have that. Like it's a little bit of everything and no clear winners in terms of channels. So that's how it is. Yeah.
Any other updates from your hands?
Like we also wrapped up our funding round. I've been hinting at this in previous episodes a little bit. So Jane has been heading our fundraising efforts over the last couple of months, basically to allow us to extend our runway a little bit. And to allow us to hire some help, because it feels like that we are not making enough progress on the product these days, because we have like so many, it's not that many, but like a couple of people email us from time to time with really good ideas and suggestions, and we're like, yes, we know, we want to do this. It's on our roadmap. But I can't tell you when we get to it. Like it's a really good idea, but no, we can't do it, and it can't tell you a timeline or anything. So yeah, it feels like.
Do you think you'll ever get off that though?
No,
because with more people, you will just get even more ideas and a longer roadmap, because you have more people, so you'll put more stuff on your roadmap. Like I don't know if it stops.
It will never stop in that sense. I don't expect that to happen, but it would be nice to. I feel like there are still a couple of big things we have to tackle or should tackle as a email marketing solution, and I hope that getting some more help on the development side will help accelerate those and get us there faster. Because right now I'm basically doing everything myself, and I'm spread thin between a million different parts of the application and a million different problems and all of that. And it would just be nice to, like split the load a little bit on that. And I think I mentioned in a previous episode that we're thinking about hiring a front-end developer because it feels like that's the hardest part that I'm struggling the most with. And not necessarily because I don't like JavaScript or CSS or any of it, quite the contrary. But I feel like front-end development is just an inherently hard task and problem because like backend development mostly deals with APIs, databases, stuff like that, but front-end development has to deal with humans. and that just
the obnoxious users.
Yeah, like managing user expectations and then like dealing with like weirdness of just client server architectures where suddenly there's no connection anymore, or the user entered a wrong value, or now you have to do validations or loading screens and like all of that stuff. It's just really complicated to get right, I feel like. And I feel like I spent so much time on this that I should probably spend elsewhere. And therefore I'd like to hire someone that hopefully is more capable of doing these kinds of tasks than I am. So yeah, that's like a topic for like future episodes, because I basically starting to figure out how to even hire someone for this right now. So don't have anything good to share about it yet.
Do you have anything more to share about the funding round? Because I kind of interrupted your train of thought.
It's not officially announced yet, so I'm not entirely sure how much I can tell.
Okay.
But we basically did a little bit of it's like a pre-seed round or something like that. So it's not a lot of money, but we got a couple of nice investors that we look up to, people that we look up to. And what was interesting in the process is we also talked to like funds and VCs and stuff like that. But most of them bailed out, whereas founders of SaaS applications were more likely to invest. And I feel like that's probably a good sign, because they are kind of our target audience and the target market, and they seem to get what we're trying to do. Whereas from the funds, we usually got something like, there's like 1 million email marketing tools out there. We don't see why UserList is any different than the other ones. Which, well, maybe it's true, but then again, like the founders were really excited about our offering and wanted to invest. So maybe it's a good sign. Or maybe I'm just lying to myself.
I think it's a good sign when because many of these are probably customers already and they like the way or the direction of the project and enough to invest, which at least shows belief in the direction of this emailing service over other emailing services that don't have the same focus, right?
Yeah.
On a SaaS for other SaaSes, which I guess you are.
That's at least what we're trying to do, yeah.
Yeah. And that is I can see that. Nobody asked me to invest, but I'm gonna let that slide.
Like, we can talk about it. Like, reach out to Jane and
I don't know. I don't have that. I would be a very small investor, but I'll reach out to Jane. I just invested like a tiny amount of money in a cafe that was crowdfunded in my city, because I've always wanted to own a cafe, right? And then I love that it's the same people behind the company that I rent my e-bike from, or lease my e-bike from. And then they have shop where they fix all the bikes, and then they're going to open a cafe next to it so you can have a coffee while you're waiting for a bike to be fixed. So they just emailed all of us who have leased these bikes and other people, you want to invest, and you could invest as low as, what was it? I ended up investing like $500 or something. I was like, yes, I want to own a piece of a cafe. I've always wanted to own a cafe, and I will be invited to like private parties and stuff like that. I was like, yes, I'm going to do it. So that's the first investment for our holding company outside our own companies.
Nice. That's pretty
Which
cool.
feels like some kind of a very small milestone.
Yeah, but still.
At some future point, I will invest more, I hope.
Yeah. I've been thinking about this as well, if I should invest in other companies at this stage, but I feel like I could probably afford it. Like I have some savings that are basically doing, well, nothing. It's not the right word, but not much. But then I'm also considering like, I'm working on this thing, and maybe I should just like keep those savings and invest time and energy in the thing that I can actually control versus investing it into some other company that I don't have any control over, just because I'm investing in them. So I figured, maybe let's get userless to a state where it's working properly, and then I can think about investing in other companies. But right now it feels like not the right thing to do.
No, I think it depends on like why you would invest. If it is to, try to bet on something that would make it big, of course, that's something we all, I guess, wouldn't mind. But I feel with my like little cafe investments, it's more like, okay, I back you, and it's so little money that if they end up like messing it up, right? It's kind of it's like I look at it more as a donation. But I do get shares that I actually like will have to file that I have and all that kind of stuff. But then you never know, like maybe they make a nice profit. They don't have big ambitions either, but if like I end up getting a little bit of money from them every year and some nice private parties and good times, I'm more than happy to do that. Like but obviously, so at this point, like that would be more my kind of investment strategy if I would have one. Like, would this be fun for me more than like, because even you can only invest a little bit, like the upside is also quite small. So it's, I guess when you invest more, then you have to be more like vigilant and actually have a better strategy, I guess, than
true.
Joy and fun or whatever, which is like my current strategy. I'm like nothing. Anyway. Yeah, maybe we can, this will be fun when Slow and Steady, when we all start investing, we can be like discussing our investments.
Slow and Steady Investors Club.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, why not?
Aspirational goals, I guess.
Aspirational goals. Yeah.
So what's been up with you?
Yeah, but that was it for what's been up with me. No, so I said I was feeling confident. I'm feeling very confident about moving into doing kind of value-based Gatsby work, which I am working on, trying to kind of nail my offerings with Jonathan Stark that I started coaching with.
Ooh.
And it looks like I've always also managing to transition one of my existing clients into more of an advisory type relationship, which would be my first, and also I think a very good fit for that project at this time. And having somebody like Stark kind of talking me through it helps a lot with my confidence going into meetings and sending an offer out. So it's not just going to be an advisory thing that I kind of concocted in my head, like just on my own, but something based on what other companies do and other consultants do, and with prices that like he could also maybe help me a little bit with comparing to other clients he've had, like what they charge for those types of services with those types of clients. So that gives me a little bit of extra like confidence going into meetings that I have somebody to discuss things with when I kind of come back and have to come up with this offer for an advisory retainer. And I also feel, so I got some homework from Stark on like looking into the Gatsby, like what websites uses Gatsby, who are the agencies, and what have I like done before with Gatsby, and like actually starting to look into it more systematically and more strategically. And super interestingly, I found some places where I can download reports on who were using Gatsby. And it looks like a lot of SaaSes are using Gatsby as their marketing site. And a lot of the really like big actors in the tech space. So DigitalOcean's marketing pages in a Gatsby. Canva, the graphic, where you can make graphics. And what others did I find? Yeah, Contentful, who is one of the headless CMSs, uses them, and some other like Calendly, their new marketing site is in Gatsby. They just relaunched a couple of months ago. So there is like it looks like it's got like a very big footprint in kind of the tech SaaS tools. I don't know what we want to call it, sad world, which is like people that I like to work with. So that is interesting instead of just working with like marketing or agencies kind of type things. So that is very promising in one way, but I have to figure out what their pain points are, like what would they need help with. And I also have some leads there where they have a Gatsby site. They don't want to use their developers who are working on the product on the kind of marketing site that they had an agency create, but they need updates. There are there's something wrong, like something is not working like they wanted to. So I'm trying to look into different types of offerings I could do within the Gatsby kind of ecosystem. And one thing that we talked about before that I still believe in is that I can make plugins for a lot of these same companies though, but plugins so that you can embed their stuff on your Gatsby site. Mm-hmm. So we talked about that for user list. When you come out with forms, like it could be good to have a Gatsby plugin that would then make it easier for somebody to embed forms on the Gatsby site or user list forms on the Gatsby site. And there are multitudes of, providers that need you to embed their script and then some kind of HTML on their side. So maybe I could productize that and do your users need to embed something? We can create the embed plugin for you, Gatsby embed plugin for you, and then have a price, and then just like people can just like book that we will make that and like book a time. Like we can do it next month or like in January, something like that. Because I think we can get a lowish price if we do a lot of them and like get this into kind of more a factory mode from our side. So like, what should the price for that be? Like, I don't know. I need to talk to you. I need to talk to people. I think now we're like thinking 5K, but I have no idea if that is too much or too little. Like if I was going to make that for user list with your new funding money, I could fund you through no, that's good. Anyway. And then the same thing is like, I'm thinking maybe a way to also get more knowledge is to do audits. So if you have these existing Gatsby sites and it keeps breaking, like I could do an audit of the site and then come up with some suggestions on where you need to clean up, and then maybe also then offer some projects where I can do for instance, an update, because I see a lot of these sites are still on Gatsby 2 and Gatsby 4 is coming out this month, I think, or next month. So then that could be like a package that I could do for kind of a fixed price or a value price where like I'll update it for you and make sure everything works. So I'm like thinking, I'm in the thinking creative mode on what type of Gatsby products we could, but I want it to be more productized. I don't want to make your marketing site. Yeah. Like I don't want to do that, but I could take something on your marketing site and kind of modularize it and say, okay, now this module that I cleaned up will keep on working. I promise that will keep on working. But I don't want to create kind of marketing assets or like marketing site like that. I don't want to be an agency, basically.
Did you?
Or marketing. Yeah.
One thing that just came to mind is, did you consider just selling basically blueprints or templates or just like component libraries? Like if most of the people are building their marketing sites with us, maybe just sell a collection of marketing website related plugins or components, or I don't know. So you don't have to build all of that stuff from scratch, but can just like piggyback on something that gets you started quicker. Similar to like the SaaS in the box things like Bullet Train or something like that.
Yeah, super interesting because I think a lot of the things that they need, that a lot of them need and are similar, are often connected to tools. So if I can't sell it to the tool provider as a plugin that they offer for free, I could package it as plugins that the maker of the site could buy. But it would be kind of the same function. But then there would be other, like, I can obviously see that there are other things that a marketing site would need that isn't completely tied to the tool or the providers they are using. So that is absolutely an interesting avenue. And then it would be great, like if I did a lot of these audits, then I would get a really good sense of where they are having problems or where they go wrong. Because I think a lot of people are like, oh, Gatsby, yeah, it's cool, blah, blah, blah. And then they just like start out and then they don't spend the time to understand like how should you do it the Gatsby way, like what is a good way of using Gatsby. You kind of put this is with all framework of course, but especially on a tight time schedule, you kind of put your old design ideas, I guess, or whatever onto the new framework, and you end up kind of not using the framework for what the framework is good for. And I think a lot of people are like, well, I know React, so I'll just like get started with Gatsby, and they don't spend the time in understanding kind of the server side versus the client side and kind of how it all fits together and how you can go super modular. You can be, what I like with Gatsby, it's the plugin models, because you can also have local plugins. They don't have to be like NPM packages. You can just make them locally, which makes it really easy to modularize, your marketing site or your project, Gatsby project. By creating these local plugins. But it seems like, if you don't know that, then you just throw everything in that, like, it's not an index file in Gatsby, but like the Gatsby node file just like grows and grows and grows instead of creating separate and plugins and stuff. And if I could then give some sort of blueprint where they have that set up front, where you this is the Gatsby way of doing it. And if you do it this way, it's less chance that your site will break when the next version comes out, right? Because that is what's happening now when people try to upgrade from version 2 to 3. There were some changes, but a lot of the pages broke because they had done things in a way that they shouldn't have done. And then when the upgrade came, it wasn't compatible, right? Yeah. It worked, but it wasn't like the official way of doing it in Gatsby. Yeah. Anyway, that was me rambling on that, but interesting idea. I'm going to write it up on my little notepad here. Blueprints. Yeah. But how do you have you had any like audit? Like how would you price an audit, or what would an audit price be?
Yeah, that's a tough one.
People listening, how much should a Gatsby marketing site audit cost? Or an embed plugin cost? I would love some ideas on. Last time I asked the listeners, I actually got some responses in my DM, so I'll try again.
Very good. I don't know. It's just me, but I tried to sell audits in the past, but I think I only ever sold one. And that was in preparation for a consulting engagement, basically analyzing their current setup and race application, and then compiling an offer on how to upgrade stuff and fix things. But yeah, I don't know. It always sounds like a good idea, and we as developers see value in like getting a list of to-dos. But I'm still not sure if it's a good thing to sell, to be honest, because I think people are not buying those kind of things. But I might be wrong. Interesting.
Yeah, because I think it is very common to kind of sell it as the beginning of something bigger, which could be a way like, okay, you have some problems. The first engagement will be an audit, and then there will be some projects coming out of that audit. I can maybe do some of them, but some of those are maybe not in my kind of area of expertise. So then you should have a project on that somebody else could do. But I think you would kind of think, you kind of go into it thinking that some of it maybe I could do, like some of it I could fix, but you don't want to promise that you'll fix it, because if you see, if it's really awful and you're like, well, this isn't fixable, you don't want to go promising to fix it, right? For a fixed price, at least. But it's interesting. I'm really feeling the momentum with this like niching that I've been trying to do for so many years, that now that I'm like, okay, I'm going to do Gatsby stuff when it comes to coding. Yeah, there's so many ideas. Like now you were like, yeah, like Gatsby blueprints, or I could do the plugins, or I can do this kind of training, or like it's the constraints are helping me coming up with things I could do and that I could do really well, since I am starting to really get I've been using Gatsby since 2018 on and off.
Yeah.
So I'm like one of the oldest Gatsby developers, I guess, around at this point.
I think having constraints is a good idea, and especially no matter what of those things you tackle, and even if you abandon them along the way, it's not like not in a wasted effort, because it's still focused enough that people in your audience will get value from it, versus like doing 20 different projects in 20 different areas where there's no overlap. Yeah, you basically burn momentum, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of a little bit how I've been feeling as a consultant, because I've been doing more like, oh, you can buy my hands and pay me hourly, and I'll do JavaScript code. And first it was native code and then JavaScript code, but it's been a little bit all over the place. But now that I really enjoy working with it, and because of the plugin system, I feel like there are possibilities to deliver something that is kind of like I can separate out something like, this is what I'm going to deliver, like this package or this like this plugin, more than in many of the other frameworks where it's like, if you go in, you kind of have to touch everything. But with Gatsby, you can refactor things out into a plugin and then give somebody else responsibility for that plugin. And I think that is what entices me a little bit about that kind of aspect of it, that I can deliver something and kind of be done with it, instead of working on that marketing side for the next 20 years, right? Yeah. If it lasts that long, but 4 years, I guess, is the longest a marketing site is. How often do you redesign your marketing site? Not that. Yeah. Yours is in Metal. No.
Middleman.
What's it called? Middleman. Yeah, I used that as well back in the day.
Yeah. It was the one I knew.
Yeah.
And a lot of these,
which is the best option.
Yeah, a lot of the text choices we do in recently is like, just use the thing might not be the nicest or the coolest or the most flexible, but yeah, just get it done.
Absolutely. And then on that, I'm going to move it along. On that regards, I am also speaking at Gatsby Fall Camp, September 16th. If anybody wants to tune in and support me in the chat, that would be awesome. And I have had, so I said I was feeling confident. I'm feeling confident about the direction. But yesterday, it felt like I couldn't even compute, right? Because I was trying, because it has to be pre-recorded, and I do live stuff all the time, no problem. Like basically, I treat this as this is a live conversation, right? Even though it's it's not live for the people listening. But trying to do a recording, I started, and then I was like, well, I could do that better, and then I did it again and again and again, and then when I finally got my groove, it turns out also when I finally like, this was a good recording. I hadn't turned on the screen recording. I'd only turned on the camera, and then the other time I hadn't turned on the mic. And because all of these were disconnected because my setup was so old, or my computer, I hadn't updated my OS since like 2007 17. So there was some issues. I couldn't use ScreenFlow. Oh my God. I just had to email them. I'm like, I'm having computer. Yeah. And then my computer crashed because I didn't want to import stuff from my camera. It was a mess. So I had to email them. I'm like, my computer is crashing. I'm very sorry. And then now I went out, I got a 4K streaming camera that I can hook up straight to my computer. I did a Time Machine backup. I updated my computer now to the latest awful OS. Like, it's all weird, but anyway, it's updated. It's working. So hopefully tomorrow I will record with live streamcast, some kind of like these screencast recorders where I can get everything in and see that everything is working, and I don't have to remember to turn on 3 things because obviously that's too much for me. And then I'm going to treat it as a live thing and just get through it and not like second guess myself. So that would be an awesome talk, everyone. No, but I think I'm going to be quote, kind of live coding though. I'll code through a Gatsby function, and I think that's going to be cool for people who haven't seen that before. But also feels very validating that I'm one of the few non-Gatsby speakers for this conference.
That's pretty cool. That's quite an achievement. Yeah, nice. Do you need anyone to listen to your live stream recording, or are you able to do it without without anyone actually being there?
I'm gonna try tomorrow, but I might tweet at midday tomorrow and be like, somebody come listen to my non-live talk while I record it, because otherwise I'm never gonna get through it. Now, I think maybe I'll get Ola to just, but I think also my computer will crash if it screencasts and live streams. So I think I'll have him just stand in the room so that I'm not allowed to kind of stop. Mm-hmm. And then my computer can do just the one thing. I think, yeah, because I realized my computer is from 2015 or 16. So it's having some problems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I don't want to, I like it. It doesn't have a touch bar. I don't want the freaking touch bar. And it's got USB ports. It's beautiful. I don't want to change it.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Maybe we got lucky and there's new MacBooks coming out soonish without a touch bar and actual ports.
we can wish. We can wish.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then nothing much on the POW front. You weren't here last week, but I was talking to Brian about maybe bringing on my best friend who is moving away. We talked some more, and we haven't decided, but we're talking about it. And then Ola and I also talked a lot about, we had this idea originally that POW could become like a cool open source project where anybody could make a copy and like host it themselves, but we were the only one that could make kind of the SaaS version. I think Plausible runs on this model. And then we kind of went away from that. But now with the kind of summer functions and all the work I'm doing as Queen Ray, I really enjoy having those conversations with people as long as when I have the time and energy. Like, I really enjoy kind of engaging with the community and helping people get started with because POW is on Gatsby as well. So we're like revisiting the idea of how we can make it a vibrant and welcoming open source project. But it's going to take some initial effort, right, to set that up in a way that makes it work. And is it worth the time and effort to do that? Like, we're having those kinds of discussions now, but I think it could have the potential, because the people using it who are developers, like, they are itching, I think, to contribute. I've had some leads or some people trying to kind of do that. So so that's the status on POW. Not much has happened, but
I like the
big picture thinking.
I like the idea, because especially it's not a developer tool, so it's not like, I mean, as long as you prevent people from deploying it somewhere and then reselling it, I think you should be good. And on the Queen Ray side, I think, like, for me personally, one of the things that really helped me get better at programming is reading code of real applications. So having an asset like that as open source might be a good idea, because there's so little good open source applications in a specific framework or language, so that there's not that much opportunity to actually read good code and read code that solves real world problems, versus just like a tutorial that barely scratches on the surface and doesn't talk about all the nitty-gritty details that you also have to think about. So this could be a good way of like, just like serving both of your audiences.
Yeah, I feel like that would kind of merge it, right? Because, okay, some people would only contribute to POW, of course, or only be customers of POW, which is fine. But people who come to training with Queen Ray, for instance, could then start contributing to POW as one of their kind of first real product contributions, if they need some practice in that, or some experience in that. And also, just with it being the focus I have on privacy, having it be open, of course, then enforces that, because people will be able to look through the code and be very, like, they can do their own audits and actually see that, yes, we are not stealing anything, right? So I think it's a way to kind of merge the two, which I've been looking for a while. Like, I want it to become like one thing, and then I would be Queen Ray of POW, right? I'm enjoying my queen status. So we'll see. But I think like all of this will come together sometimes during this fall. I think it's a very, very, I'm feeling a lot of momentum, and I feel like it's going in the right direction. I just need to put the work in and keep pushing in that direction. Yeah. That's a long update from me.
Well, it's not like it's not like Brian is here and wants to talk as well. So I guess we have the hour or 45 minutes for ourselves.
Yeah. I feel I get so much benefit out of talking these things through. And also when people DM'd me about bringing on my friend, that, I had some really good conversation, and people had some good suggestions, which was which was very helpful. Because as you've been saying, like, we're very much alone when we're working on our SaaSes.
Yeah. The one thing I thought when listening to that episode was get stuff in writing. if you end up partnering up, or whatever form of collaboration you end up choosing, get a contract in place, even if it feels weird between friends, because from past experience, so much of the stuff, if you don't get it in writing, both parties will assume something, and it will not align, especially when there are problems. So I feel like agreeing on terms, also for difficult stuff, like when you part ways and stuff like that, ahead of time in writing is. You should absolutely do that.
We will absolutely do that. We actually have that for the Gatsby show on Fridays.
That's very smart.
We have it basically says that I have veto power over everything.
And the funny thing is, I'm saying that, like, you should absolutely do this, but we don't have anything like this for this podcast.
No. And one of the things we also have for the show on Fridays is that it's not going to be sponsored, right? So we don't have to start thinking about negotiating sponsor fees and who should get the sponsor fees, and also we want to be independent and on what is our tagline? Unsponsored and unauthorized and unrum-fueled, I think, is our tagline. No, but it was very helpful to just get it all in writing, because then it's very clear, like, this is the terms of our show, at least until this date. And we could obviously have a meeting and change our minds, but this is what we agree on at the point where we started. And it's been helpful. I should go back and look at that. It's been a while since I looked at
And
it.
I'm thinking you should get document like this for this podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Difficult conversation coming up.
I mean, before all the sponsors are like, throwing. I'm just kidding. I have no idea what you guys have decided on this podcast. So yeah, having it in writing.
Yeah.
Oh, on that note, I totally forgot my Call Paul episode came out. So MailChimp produced a podcast called Call Paul with Paul Jarvis of Fathom Analytics. And my episode came out last week.
Nice. I have no idea what
So
this
if you
is
go
about,
to-
but I'll check it out right now.
It's about POW. So it's about the POW origin story and how awesome it is. Basically, I think the tagline ended up being like creating a killer app and charging money for it, or something like that was the tagline they chose. But it's like a highly produced show, so have a listen to that with like voiceover and yeah. There's
I checked that one out.
So we can put that in the show notes.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it right now. The website isn't super clear on that, but yeah, we have it in the show notes.
No, yes. Let's not talk about the imagery on that webpage.
Okay. Well, yeah.
That's it.
Anything else you want to talk about?
I mean, I could talk for a couple of hours more, but I think we're going to wrap it here, right?
Yeah, let's wrap it. Cool. Yeah, then see you next week. Talk to you next week. And
see you next week. Hopefully Brian is here.
Yeah, hopefully Brian is back. Bye.
Bye-bye.